Kong bows to no one.
Godzilla vs. Kong was directed by Adam Wingard and stars many people like Millie Bobby Brown, Brian Tyree Henry, Alexander Skarsgård, Rebecca Hall, many other people. And this film takes place a few years after the events of the last Godzilla movie, King of the Monsters, as all of a sudden Godzilla begins to attack people, which he has never done before. And while all this is happening, a big tech company is trying to use King Kong to try to discover an energy source that might be hidden in a different world within our world. And during all this, Godzilla doesn't really like that Kong believes that he's the alpha, so brawls ensue, big things happen, explosions, fists get thrown from giant monkeys into giant lizards, and this was fun. I very much enjoyed this. So first I'm going to talk about the fights between Godzilla and Kong, the thing that everyone is going to see this movie for, because, it's called Godzilla versus Kong. It's not really trying to be anything other than that. And when it happens, it's pretty awesome. The CGI for them and the destruction is fantastic. The fighting style of them just beating the shit out of each other is a lot of fun. And overall, when they're on screen and they're duking it out with one another, it is a blast. I do wish, though, that the movie had more of it. It's only just barely close to 2 hours, but this is and I'll get into this in a moment, but kind of the pacing and the lack of the fighting does tend to be a problem with this. So because this is obviously a movie that needs story and characters, we can't exactly just focus on, non-talking giant animals and just have them fighting for an hour and a half. It's not exactly how good cinema works. So you have to have a story and you have to have characters that we need to, get emotionally attached to. And do they have both of those? To a matter of extent, yes. Story-wise, it does, and I'm not really going to get into a lot of details of it because then I would spoil a lot of things, but overall, it is a simple story that is there just to make sure that Godzilla and Kong fight one another, and that way it makes sense, so that way there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. I know it's a very weird way to describe it, but that's the best way I can do it without getting into spoilers for specific things, and it does get the job done. It is not anything grand, it is not anything amazing, it's fairly predictable what is going to happen, but it knows this. Again, this is a movie called Godzilla versus Kong. It is not trying to be anything other than what it is, and it knows this, and it has fun with it. So that's good. A big thing I really always worry about with movies like these, especially in the Monsterverse, with Kong Skull Island and King of the Monsters, is that those films gave us so many characters that I just did not care about. It's the Independence Day problem, as I like to call it, is you have just this giant ensemble of characters. You might have a character or two you focus on, but overall, most of the characters you really do not care about, especially by the end. It's just I don't care. Why should I care? But thankfully, the cast is much smaller than those last two movies, and each character's group's story actually does further the plot. It's not just some of them are just there to be there. They actually have their own things going for them, so that way it actually can affect the plot and move it forward. So on those terms, it's good. In terms of me caring about a lot of them, not necessarily. They have characters, they have things that I do care about in a sense, but if they died, there was never going to be a time that I would be oh man, that sucks that one character died. There wasn't really any of that. And it's not to say that none of the performances were bad, because none of the performances were bad, but it knew that the characters needed to be simple for this story to work and to be as fun as it needs to be, and that's what it did. Similar to the story, its characters needed to be simple to get the job done, and that's what they do. If you're going into this looking for any kind of deep character study or any kind of big, grand, Shakespearean type epic, I don't think Shakespeare ever wrote stories about monkeys fighting lizards, but if you're expecting anything like that, then this clearly is not the movie for you. Again, this is a movie where a giant monkey punches a giant lizard in the face. That should be your one warning about what this kind of movie is going to be. So, if you're not into that, then this obviously is not going to be for you. But for the rest of us, it's pretty fun. I think if the Monsterverse kind of ended with this, I think I would be fine with that. Because with the ending of this, I don't really know where else it could go. Because, this isn't trying to be a big cinematic universe like Marvel or DC. It's trying to be its own self-little contained thing, where each sequel, builds up to, this big crossover between Godzilla and King Kong. And it works. If you watch, the first Godzilla movie, then Kong Skull Island, and King of the Monsters, then to this, it all works. It all makes sense. And I think that if it does end with this, I think that this would be a fun ending, because I don't really know how you could make a satisfying cinematic universe ending with this. There really isn't any kind of way. So with the way this ends, it's a fun ending. I think that if it stops here, then I'll be satisfied with it. Because, again, this is a very fun movie. It's not trying to be anything overly dark, overly serious. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It knows what it is, and that is good. I'm very happy about that. Because in the past, Adam Wingard has had problems with not really understanding the material that he's given. Like, I have not finished his Death Note Netflix movie. I've seen maybe the first, 20 minutes of that. That's something. I haven't even seen the anime, and I know that's just all wrong.
What just happened?
But here, he understands what he's doing. He knows what he needs to do. He knows what the audience wants to see, and that is good. I'm very happy with that. This is a very fun movie. But again, if you are looking for anything deep or complex or just anything that isn't Godzilla versus Kong, then this is not going to be the movie for you. There really isn't a whole lot I can say on this without getting into spoilers, but overall, it is a fun movie. I think the story works for what it's trying to do. I think the characters are good enough and the performances are good enough that I am fine with it. And again, the big selling point, Godzilla versus Kong, it works. It really works. When it happens, it's fantastic and fun. When it doesn't happen, it can suffer from a bit of pacing problems of wanting to see them fight. But overall, it is a fun experience. So yeah, if you have HBO Max, check it out on that. If you want to see it in theaters safely, then go ahead and do that. But Godzilla vs. Kong was a fun time. I'm going to give Godzilla vs. Kong a 7 out of 10. Overall, yeah, I had fun with this. Again, if it ends here, then I'm fine with that. I don't really think that this could go anywhere else. But if we get another one where a giant monkey punches a giant lizard in the face, I'm here for it. That's always a fun time. So that was my review of Godzilla vs. Kong. Have you seen the movie? What do you think of it? Do you want to see more movies where giant monkeys punch giant things in the face? Let me know in the comments below what you would want those to be. As always, make sure to like, share, subscribe, all that cool stuff, and I will see you all next time.